Proof that evolution occasionally clocks out early and lets gravity handle the paperwork. 1. The man who tried to remove a chainsaw cast. Himself a construction worker in Idaho broke his arm, but decided hospitals were a scam invented by Big Plaster. Instead of returning to the clinic, he grabbed a chainsaw to speed up the healing process. He fired it up and began sawing through his own cast. Sparks flew, his sleeve caught fire, and he ended up back in the ER with second-degree burns and the same broken arm. When asked why, he said, "The doctor never told me not to." Technically true, but also proof that warning labels exist for a reason. 2. The guy who tried to microwave his cold feet. In the middle of a Minnesota winter, a man came home drunk, took off his boots, and decided his feet were too cold to live. His fix? He stuck them in the microwave to defrost. 10 seconds later, his socks were smoking, his skin was blistering, and his roommate was calling 911 while he yelled, "It's working!" Doctors treated second-degree burns and frostbite. At the same time, evolution called, "It wants a refund." 3. The woman who tried to cure a headache with superglue. A woman in Nevada thought her migraine was caused by air escaping through a tiny bump on her scalp. Instead of taking painkillers, she sealed it shut with superglue. When the pressure built up, she fainted and fell into her sink, gluing her hair, hands, and forehead to the counter. Paramedics had to cut her free and shave half her head. When asked why she didn't see a doctor, she said, "It's just a DIY pressure plug." The doctor's reply, "Congratulations, you've invented the world's first human Tupperware." 4. The dentist who knocked himself out mid-surgery. Some professionals know their limits. This guy didn't. A dentist in Poland decided to save time during a long root canal by numbing his own mouth first, just to show the patient it's safe. Halfway through explaining the procedure, the local anesthetic kicked in a little too well. He slurred, drooled, and promptly passed out, face first onto his own drill. The nurse had to finish pulling the tool out of his cheek while the patient, still in the chair, said, "So, do I get a discount?" Somewhere, Hippocrates is face-palming in ancient Greek. 5. The jogger who tried to outrun a tornado. In Kansas, because of course it's Kansas, a fitness influencer saw a tornado forming and decided it would make epic content. He live-streamed himself jogging toward it, shouting motivational quotes like, "You can't run from fear, only through it." Spoiler, he ran through a fence, a mailbox, and a small shed before being rescued from a ditch by storm chasers. When doctors asked what happened, he said, "I thought I could pace myself." Nature replied by inventing the concept of cardio-induced humiliation. 6. The man who thought gasoline was hand sanitizer. During the early pandemic, one genius at a gas station decided to stay safe by pouring unleaded on his hands to kill the germs. Moments later, a static spark turned his hygiene routine into a 4th of July show. He was fine, minus his eyebrows, his dignity, and most of his hair. When paramedics arrived, he asked if gasoline was at least stronger than Purell. The medic just said, "Buddy, it's not even stronger than your life choices." 7. The woman who tried to remove a bee sting with a vacuum cleaner. A woman in Georgia got stung by a bee on her arm and decided the best way to suck out the poison was literally to suck it out with a vacuum cleaner hose. Within seconds, she'd vacuum sealed her skin to the nozzle, creating what doctors described as a perfect circle of stupidity. Her arm swelled, bruised, and got infected. When asked why she didn't use tweezers, she said, "The vacuum has better suction." True, but so does a black hole. And that's about how far her logic went. 8. The man who used a forklift for back pain relief. A warehouse worker in Texas complained that his chiropractor was too expensive, so his co-worker offered to crack his back industrial style. The method? Have him lie down on a pallet while the co-worker gently lifted him using a forklift. It worked, if you define worked as compressing 3 vertebrae and launching him into early retirement. The company filed it under equipment misuse, though natural selection on lunch break might have been more accurate. His last words before passing out? "I think it popped." Larson 9. The DIY surgeon with a butter knife. A man in Ohio decided that the ER overcharges for simple procedures, like removing a splinter. He watched 3 YouTube videos, sterilized a butter knife over a candle, and announced to his horrified roommate that he would be performing minor outpatient surgery. He numbed the area with whiskey, internally, made a dramatic incision, and immediately fainted at the sight of exactly 2 drops of his own blood. He landed chin first on the counter, chipping a tooth and lodging the actual splinter deeper. At the hospital, where he eventually arrived anyway, doctors removed the splinter in 30 seconds and billed him for a tetanus shot, stitches, and dental work. His post-op review: "They should tell you blood looks more real in real life." Yes, champ. That's kind of the point. 10. The guy who tried to jumpstart his heart with car cables. After chugging 3 energy drinks and feeling weird palpitations, a backyard mechanic decided his heart just needed a clean reboot. He clipped one end of jumper cables to a car battery and tried to clamp the other end to his chest, just for a touch. His friend, promoted to cardiologist by proximity, shouted, "Clear!" as if that magically turned a Honda Civic into a defibrillator. They produced sparks, panic, and a spectacular scorch mark on his t-shirt. Paramedics explained that defibrillators stop chaotic rhythms, not jumpstart dead batteries, and also that human bodies are not alternators. He nodded solemnly and asked if a hybrid would have worked better. Evolution quietly closed the garage door. 11. The camper who bear-proofed his tent with bacon. A first-time camper read that bears hate loud noises and bright lights. Logical next step? He ringed his tent with glow sticks, hung a portable speaker blasting techno, and, because bait scares them off if you make it spicy, rubbed bacon with hot sauce along the zipper as a bear deterrent. Around 3 a.m., a black bear arrived to enjoy the world's most confusing rave snack combo, shredded the tent like wrapping paper, and jogged off with the speaker, presumably to start a DJ career. Our hero sprinted barefoot to the ranger station, where staff wrote the incident up as food conditioning via marinated zipper. He later posted a 1-star review of the campsite. Too many bears. The bear's review of him: 5 stars. Crispy, great mouthfeel. 12. The woman who tried to extinguish a grease fire with flour kitchen safety tip: water makes grease fires worse. She knew that, so she grabbed the nearest white powder, a 5-pound bag of flour. She hurled it onto the flaming pan like a snowstorm of wrong. Flour is combustible. The fireball whooshed up the backsplash, singed her eyebrows into parentheses, and triggered every smoke alarm within a zip code. She then tried the fire extinguisher under the sink, which turned out to be a can of air freshener labeled fresh linen. Firefighters arrived to a kitchen that smelled like toasted croissants and laundry day. The captain kindly explained baking soda next time, not flour. She nodded, wrote "not for fires" on every flour bag in the pantry, and ordered takeout. Evolution tiptoed out in oven mitts. 13. The man who ironed his shirt while wearing it. A businessman in London was running late for a meeting and didn't want to waste time dressing after ironing. His solution? Combine the steps. He slipped on his wrinkled shirt, grabbed the hot iron, and started smoothing out the chest area. 30 seconds later, he was doing the cha-cha of pain across the kitchen. When paramedics arrived, he was shirtless, blistered, and still insisting it was working until the steam setting kicked in. Doctors described the burns as second-degree, first-class stupid. When asked if he'd do it again, he said, "Next time, I'll start with low heat." That's not a fix. That's a sequel. 14. The woman who thought pepper spray was breath spray. At a music festival in Nevada, a woman was feeling self-conscious about her breath before meeting a guy she liked. She rummaged in her purse, found a small black canister, and, without checking the label, gave herself a confident 2 sprays straight to the mouth. The freshness was immediate and life-altering. Within seconds, she was on the ground, gagging, blind, and learning the difference between minty coolness and capsaicin hell. Medics flushed her mouth with milk while her date stood there, wondering if this counted as a good first impression. She later said, "At least my breath wasn't the worst part of the night." Evolution 1. Romance 0. 15. The farmer who tried to fix his tractor with a grenade. A Ukrainian farmer found an old grenade while plowing his field. Logical move? He decided it looked just the right size to replace a missing pin in his tractor's hitch. He hammered it into place, hitched up his trailer, and proudly told his wife, "See? It's secure now." Seconds later, the trailer and his eyebrows achieved orbit. Miraculously, he survived, proving that sometimes Darwin just watches with popcorn. The local police described it as a creative but short-lived repair. The farmer's statement, "I thought it was one of the good grenades." Sir, there are none. 16. The guy who tried to deep fry a frozen turkey indoors. Every Thanksgiving, someone turns a holiday into an emergency drill. This year's winner was a man who decided to deep fry a completely frozen turkey in his living room. The moment the bird hit the oil, it erupted like Old Faithful, made of poultry and napalm. The explosion set off the smoke detector, the sprinklers, and half the neighborhood's curiosity. When firefighters arrived, they found him standing outside holding the fire extinguisher upside down, spraying his shoes. The bird? Charred beyond recognition, possibly evolved into a new species. The moral? Turkeys can't fly, but they can detonate. 17. The tourist who wanted a selfie with a bison. At Yellowstone National Park, a man decided to get closer for scale. Ignoring every warning sign and common sense, he walked up to a 2,000-pound bison and held out his phone for a selfie. The bison responded by demonstrating Newton's third law, equal and opposite headbutt. He was launched 10 feet through the air, lost his phone, and gained 14 stitches and a lifetime of regret. When park rangers asked what he was thinking, he said, "It looked calm. So does a toaster until you stick a fork in it." His photo ended up blurry but historically accurate, the face of someone realizing too late that nature doesn't do retakes. 18. The man who tried to fix a leak with expanding foam. Inside the pipe. A handyman in Arizona discovered a small leak under his sink. Instead of tightening the joint, he grabbed a can of expanding insulation foam. If it fills gaps in walls, he reasoned, it'll fill the pipe too. He sprayed the entire can into the drain line, watched it expand like a growing loaf of regret, and proudly said, "That should do it." Minutes later, his kitchen erupted in a bubbling geyser of foam, water, and shame. When the plumber arrived, he stared for a full 10 seconds before saying, "This isn't a repair. It's an art installation." The man's final words before the bill. It said waterproof on the can. Yes, buddy, not plumber-proof. 19. The woman who used nail polish remover as eye drops. One morning, a woman in Chicago woke up with dry eyes and no patience. She reached into her purse, grabbed a small bottle she swore was Visine, and gave herself 2 heroic squeezes. Within seconds, she was screaming like a banshee at a Bon Jovi concert. Her roommate ran in to find her eyes bloodshot, her lashes melting, and the room smelling like a nail salon on fire. She'd used acetone. In her defense, the bottles were the same size, and apparently her sense of smell was still asleep. ER doctors flushed her eyes for hours, and she left with bandages, sunglasses, and the lifetime nickname Manicure Mary. On the bright side, her tear ducts have never been this clean. 20. The guy who tried to test a bulletproof vest on himself, a Florida man, because of course it's Florida, found a bulletproof vest at a garage sale and decided to see if it still works. Lacking a lab, he chose the backyard. Lacking a lab assistant, he chose his cousin. The cousin's job? Aim. The first shot hit the vest. The man cheered. The second shot hit the spot not covered by the vest, his shoulder. He dropped the beer, screamed, "Bro, bad aim!" and passed out. Police arrived to 2 crying cousins and 1 extremely confused paramedic. The report listed it as self-administered intelligence test. The vest worked. The brain didn't. 21. The chef who tried to light a grill with bug spray. At a family BBQ in Arizona, a chef forgot lighter fluid but spotted a can of Raid nearby. "It's flammable," he said, "and that's all that matters." 1 click later, the grill exploded with enough force to re-season the entire backyard. The hamburgers were found 20 feet away, still medium rare. He survived, minus his eyebrows, his mustache, and his status as the guy who knows what he's doing. His family renamed him Chef Boom. When asked later what he learned, he said, "At least the mosquitoes were gone." True, and so was the patio furniture. 22. The man who tried to stop a chainsaw with his hand. A logger in Oregon dropped his chainsaw and tried to catch it mid-fall. You can probably guess how that went. He succeeded in stopping it, but not before it introduced itself to 4 of his fingers. As medics patched him up, he said, "It's muscle memory. I catch things when they fall." "Sir, gravity isn't a teammate." The doctor stitched him up and gave him an unforgettable lecture about tool safety and natural selection. His reply, "Guess I won't be hitchhiking for a while." No kidding, Captain Clumsy. 23. The woman who thought a candle would dry out her ear infection. Instead of visiting a doctor, a woman in Utah read online that lighting a candle near your ear helps draw out toxins. She misunderstood the near part. She jammed the candle inside her ear canal, lit it, and waited for healing energy. What she got was a waxy inferno and a trip to the burn unit. When asked by firefighters what happened, she calmly said, "I was detoxing." The only thing detoxed that day was her eardrum. The hospital billed her $3,000 for alternative medicine detoxification via stupidity. 24. The guy who thought his lawn needed faster growth. A homeowner in Alabama wanted greener grass now. Instead of fertilizer, he poured an entire case of energy drinks across his lawn. Plants need energy too, he reasoned. For one glorious day, the grass glowed neon green. Then it died, faster than his understanding of biology. The sugar turned the soil into a sticky ant colony, and the caffeine poisoned the roots. His neighbors watched as he stood there, sipping another Red Bull, muttering, "It just needed more time." The city fined him for creating a biohazard lawn. Somewhere, Darwin updated his notes under photosynthesis, not optional. 25. The man who tried to fix his phone in the microwave. A man in California dropped his smartphone in the sink and read online that heat can dry it out. So naturally, he put it in the microwave for just 10 seconds. 5 seconds later, the phone burst into electric fireworks. The microwave died with a heroic bzzzt, and his apartment smelled like burnt lithium and despair. When firefighters asked what he'd been cooking, he said, "A Samsung." The report listed it as domestic electronics homicide. The good news? His phone was no longer wet. The bad news? Neither were his eyebrows. 26. The woman who tried to get a tan with cooking oil. Every summer, one person forgets that sunscreen exists for a reason. This woman in Miami skipped SPF entirely and basted herself in canola oil for that golden brown glow. She got it, just in the wrong way. After 3 hours on the beach, she looked like a baked potato with Wi-Fi. When she tried to stand up, her legs literally sizzled against the sand. A friend had to carry her to the car wrapped in aluminum foil, for shade, not seasoning. Doctors said her burns were 2nd degree. Her logic was 0 degree. The kicker? She told reporters, "Next time I'll use olive oil. It's more natural." Nature just sighed. 27. The electrician who tested voltage with his tongue. An electrician in Montana thought he could tell whether a line was live by feeling it. Usually that's what a multimeter is for. But no, he decided to lick the wire. His coworkers heard a pop, a yelp, and then the faint smell of barbecued ego. When he regained consciousness, he asked, "Did it spark?" The foreman replied, "Yeah, so did your brain." He survived, lost a bit of taste, and gained the nickname Watt Mouth. OSHA added an unofficial note to their handbook. Electricity is not a seasoning. 28. The man who tried to cure COVID with a vacuum cleaner hose. Our grand finale belongs to a man in Texas who saw a viral post claiming that sucking out infected air could help clear the lungs. His tool of choice, a shop vacuum. He duct taped the hose to his face, turned it on full blast, and immediately learned what 120 psi feels like to the human nostril. He ruptured a sinus, fainted, and woke up to paramedics prying a vacuum off his head while his wife yelled, "I told you to use the small setting." He later told reporters, "At least it cleaned me out." It did, of common sense. Evolution doesn't make mistakes. People just volunteer for the beta testing. Which one wins Darwin's Gold?